All right. Hello, lads. In this video, as always, we'll talk about the anime scripter and the release of 2.6.0. It's been 3 months since the last video, so I'm gonna keep this. Well, there's gonna be a lot of changes, but I'm gonna try to keep it short and talk about the more important things and then trickle down to the least important ones. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. The biggest change will be the keyframe graph editor. This, to my knowledge, is currently the best graph editor there is on Windows. I'm also going to make it a bit larger so you can actually properly see it from the recording side of things. So why is this the best one, in my opinion? It's because you can zoom out, zoom in, move it around as you wish, center it back as you wish. You can also play around with the shortcuts. Shift for snapping to the closest edge, closest side of the square or canvas. Alt for increasing the distance but keeping the same angle of the node. Control for keeping the length or the distance or length but modifying the angle. Control Shift for modifying both nodes at once. So you can make this type of graphs easier. Control Shift Alt to modify both nodes but keep them inside the canvas. Otherwise, the node can go also outside the canvas. So based on your liking, you can do whatever you want with these nodes. There's also a button for locked bounds, which will stop it from moving outside the boundaries. But yeah, Ctrl Shift Alt serves the same purpose as Ctrl Shift plus turning the bounds on. There's also Shift Alt, which will go to the closest edge relative to the node, never the opposite. So never these two for this one, never these two. And you can go like this as you wish. If you wish for something super heavy like this, you can do it. There's also a button for reset view and reset curve. Well, if you don't like these shortcuts, they are named here. There's also, these shortcuts also appear here, but you can modify them here. You can always just do, say, Control V. So snap from going from Shift, from Shift, it will be Control V now. You can always change them around. Yeah. So now it's gonna be Control V back. And if you don't like it, reset to default. By the way, I forgot to mention, that's why I was also confused. If you do Alt, say this was Shift and this was Alt, if you do Alt, it will replace this one with Shift. It's just a small little quality of life feature I wanted to add, but maybe just so it doesn't create confusion, so you know. Also, if the UI is too small, it will auto collapse the coordinates, so they will not show. This is just to save up on space. Now let's talk about the other interesting stuff, the repeatability stuff. There's now a little bar here with all of your favorites, which on hover show the graph itself. You can always click on them and then get your favorites. So you don't even need to touch the presets. Only once, save them to your favorites with a right click, and then remove them again with a right click. And then you can just modify it as you wish. As you wish. I have also added reverse curve, which will not work in this case because it's the same curve. There's also double click to zoom in and zoom out. Zoom in to center. But there's also buttons for zoom in and zoom out. I forgot to mention these. So in case if you want it to be further away, yeah, it can be further away, or if you want it closer. But it's always gonna sample based on the center. So if it's here, it's always gonna sample relative to the center. So if you want to zoom in, always make sure to reset view and then center and center out. It will save it and it will remember that this is my default, except if you do reset view, which will reset to the default view of the screen. Yeah, these are the presets. You can see them, you can save them, you can hide them completely afterwards, and then just use the preset row from here. Yeah, it's really powerful. But yeah, excuse me. So you can save them, and yeah, that's why I believe it's the strongest, most performant graph editor. Talking about performance, it's also decoupled from the main renderer, or main loop renderer of the enemy scripter. It works asynchronously, and it gets refreshed relative to the After Effects renderer, basically, meaning it's not working at 30 Hz like it used to. It's now working at the same refresh rate as After Effects or your screen. So if your screen is 240 Hz and After Effects is set to 240 Hz, which I don't know if you can set differently, but let's assume you can. So if it's set at 240 Hz, this will also work at 240 Hz, hence why it's so goddamn smooth. There is some caching in place made for performance, but everything is super performant. Yeah. This is the newly designed and really amazing graph editor that I've made. Super happy with it, super stoked. Let me know what you think of it. If you have some suggestions, stuff that I could add or remove, let me know in the comments. We will now go to the extra tool. This will also connect to the Q tab in a minute. Extra tab map. So import YouTube video has been redesigned. Let me check if I can find a YouTube video real quick. Give me just a second. Go to my channel. All right, we got a video here. So this is one of my videos. If you do this, press the download in a couple of seconds. It was always taking quite long, but hopefully not too long now. For the sake of this video, please do it. Yeah, all right. So it will now show the thumbnail of the video, the title, the creator, how many views it has, formats available. It will properly showcase the formats. It will also properly, hopefully, re-encode all of the videos so that they work with After Effects, because they're encoding AV1 and After Effects does not support AV1, which is just bonkers in my opinion. Audio only, same thing. It will handle the conversion for it to work with After Effects. But yeah, this is improved. Extra depth map. Depth map now has, let's talk about the new models. There's small CUDA, base CUDA, large CUDA for video depth, anything V2. What do these do is they are meant for videos specifically, so long running videos, not for images like the other models. They consume a bit more VRAM. They perform significantly worse in terms of iterations per second or FPS, but it does look tons better. But yeah, it's CUDA only. There's no TensorRT variant. There's no DirectML. I will look into TensorRT and DirectML at a later point. It's super good. I really recommend it if you have the VRAM to spare, or yeah, you just want the highest quality. Definitely recommend it. But I've also added another option, normalize depth map. What is this option? Well, OG video depth anything is working based on a sliding window option. Basically, it looks at past and future frames relative to the current frame. Basically just makes all 32 frames, and then there's a window in which it looks throughout each frame, and then normalizes the output based on the brightness luminance. This is only a temporal approach. This normalized depth reduced flicker is looking only at the past frames, and then normalizes the current frame based on the past frames. It's not bulletproof. It sucks a bit with scene changes, but overall it performs really well, and it doesn't have that high of a flexing performance, only about 10 to 15% if I remember correctly. And it works with every model except of course for the video models. So if your GPU can support OG video adapt anything, but you still want the flickering on the output, just run it with this and you will have a significantly better output. This works with any model currently available, except again for video adapt anything. We will do a GG still small V2 CUDA. Let's do it, but not on high. Let's do medium, so it's a bit faster. We will do extract that map, and then remove this, and then run it again. You can see it has the queue has also been redesigned. It now shows statuses based on the queue item color, not like a badge, which is a bit more intuitive. Oh, it has accidentally rendered this. No problem. We can correct that one. So this is the output with normalization of the luminance. You can see there's some in the really fast movements there is some temporal issues, sadly, that you cannot fix. It's not amazing, never argued it's amazing, but it does help a lot with luminance issues, so, or with brightness. But if we enable the raw clip, let's see the raw clip. It's about the same speed. We can see it doesn't really matter much. And this is the output, so it's much more flickery. This is how flickery it is, and this is how flickery this is. So it's much more stable. It's still a work in progress. I still want to work on the ghosting effect of it, but it's a significant improvement to the final output without much. I mean, there's some ghosting, but other than that, it's significantly more stable. Yeah, so these two, let's get rid of them. I have also added motion blur support now. Motion blur support was already present in the past, but has been removed in the hopes of reworking it. You can select the blur factor, you can select the blur weighting. It is being explained, usually descending Gaussian. You can tell them, well, see what works for you. I have applied many weightings and added many weightings in the hopes that it will cover most edge cases or use cases. It's not that fast. Well, at the end of the day, what it does is does interpolation, and then at like 32x in this case, and then just resampling the output to the interpolated output back to the original frame rate, just creating a motion blur trail like effect in high motion use cases. It's still a work in progress, that's why it's in beta, but you can see it does produce a motion blur result. So the camera is moving and you can see it does do what it says. Let's see the hands. You can see it's a nice little trail, so it does do exactly what it says. It's lovely in that regard. It's not perfect in the sense that UI elements like here do get blended. So if you have a raw CSGO clip or a raw anime clip where there's no HUD elements, it's for the better. But you can do it on the final output of the anime. You can do it on the final output of the edit, and you will get a really high quality motion blur for your video. Again, this is also in beta. It's still a work in progress, and I want to improve it furthermore. I will try to learn how to better blend the frames in the future. But yeah, I mean, does a great job in my opinion. Here, for example, there's a ghosting, but here it looks pretty decent. Again, beta, take it as it is. It's CUDA only right now, CUDA and TensorRT only. I will add an option for interpolating, but every alpha and beta feature will be only for supporters starting in the future. Settings wise, yeah, let's go back to the chain tab. Chain tab, what's new? So the duplicate has been replaced with remove dev frames. This is the option from the accept tab layer, where there was the remove dev frames option. Same thing with version 2.6.0 relative to 2.5.10. I have increased the performance by 37%, and it now also supports multiple layers compared to before when it didn't. Accuracy settings, nothing to mention here. Upscale wise, in the upscale, I've added Adore TensorRT, which is a V2 version of Fallen, which it itself is an improvement to Shufflekuchen. Adore is 95%, maybe even more of the cases. I would suggest using Adore, otherwise use Fallen. Otherwise, if you don't want too sharp of a result, use Compact or Ultra Compact, either of those, or even any scale 2. Either any model is really good. But Adore should be preferred for 95% of the anime from my personal testing. You may also notice, before I forget, you may also notice that many models are missing. That's because I hidden them in between or behind a legacy models tag. So they do not occupy the UI anymore or space in the UI. You can always enable or disable it using the toggle in the appearance and privacy show legacy models. We also have discourage presence and light mode, by the way. Interpolate, anything noteworthy. GFSS CUDA has been improved. It's about 10 to 15% faster now than it used to be. Rive CUDA, I've added more models. I've also hidden some, but yeah, most of the models should be here. They are noteworthy and relevant. You can use Rive 4.7 Elixir for and maybe large movements, GFSS. There's also still DRBA and still DRBA Lite CUDA, and they also have their own TensorRT variants. There's no GMFSS TensorRT because it's impossible to make it work, and it's annoying. I tried really hard. What else? Generate preview. Yeah, let's not forget about generate preview. So you can now generate previews of the output. If you want to say, let's do it on a proper anime. So this scene, interpolate upscale. Are we going to use adored but not TensorRT? Let's do CUDA. Let's now enable that and enable sharpen 80%. So we have adore and CUDA, and we accidentally ran chain. No problem. We'll just wait for it to do this. Sad, but it is what it is. So stop that, move. We'll do generate preview. It will generate a PNG output of the frame that you're looking at, and then it will process it through DAS, and now you can see the finalized output, which is really nice. It has really good depth of field handling, and it's really sharp. So I really recommend using it. This is, by the way, well, technically 720p if I remember correctly. Then I resized it to 1080p, but still, technically it's a 720p clip, and it's looking really good. I'm really happy with the model. I recommend it wholeheartedly. What else have I added? Nothing here. The about tab has been redesigned a bit, played around with it a bit more. Thank you to every sponsor who has supported TAS. What's new? Yeah, this also shows the latest release, the pre-release. This is what I'm testing right now. Accelerator guide, same as ever. Right, the About tab, I fixed this little notification. The tiers are now have like a rank to them, a name, a rank, so it's easier to identify them. I also fixed some bugs with the linking of the GitHub profile. But primarily, it was expiring a bit too fast, and I lowered the expiration date and made it a bit better in that regard. But yeah, this is about it, I believe. There's nothing else noteworthy to mention. Oh, I added multi-language support. Not sure if this was present in 2.5.0, but now we have English, Spanish, Chinese, German, Russian, Hungarian, Romanian, and French all in the UI. If you ever wish to change, you have Russian. I tried to have as many options, but you can see show legacy models is still not translated. I want to be completely transparent. All of this is AI generated, so not sure if the translation is 100% correct or perfect. I've tried having it as good as possible, but yeah, no pinky promises. Hopefully it looks good and works good. Yeah. Yeah, there's also NVIDIA GPUs encoding NVENC-264 and NVENC-265. I also added decon method NVDAC. It's still experimental, but technically from what I've seen, it's working properly now. And same for NVENC-264, it should work pretty much properly, but there's still some Kubernetes conditions, which I'm not sure if are fully fixed just yet. But these are faster than these. So this is better than this in theory. We'll see. Time will tell. Yeah. Oh, stabilize video. They mentioned it. Stabilize video alpha. It does video stabilization as it implies. It's still a work in progress. I will also improve this, but primary goal is improving normalize depth and apply motion blur. These are the primary goals. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you very much for supporting TAS, for using TAS, for being a part of the community and promoting it. More news are gonna come soon with more stuff, more features, more everything, and hopefully I will be more active. I want to talk about also the MacBook. We have reached the 50 sponsors now, a bit too fast compared to what I was thinking, not hoping, but thinking we will reach. I'm not ready yet to have the MacBook, so we will need at the very least 5 to 6, 7, I'm not sure how many months, but probably about that much until I can save up the sponsor money. I will also need time to get everything ready, so yeah, I will need some time for this to happen. I'm super glad. Thank you very much for making it possible, but I just didn't take into consideration the speed at which we have reached it. So yeah, I will try my best to make it happen, but no pinky promises, and the time span in which it will require for me to get the MacBook port rolling. I also want it really much, quite a lot, but yeah, it will eventually happen, I promise. Anyway, have a wonderful night. I will need to go to sleep now because it's 1 a.m. Sorry for rushing it a bit, but yeah, it's already 24 minutes long. Yeah, good night. Bye bye.